Ladies and gentlemen, look at that. You guys like that countdown there? Do you enjoy that sort of thing? Well, I hope you do, because here we are. It's tea time, guys. It is tea time. And we're going to talk about a few things here. You can probably guess where it's going. Nike says he has a special take that he has reserved. He prepared it for tea time. It's ready to go, right? It's very hot, very spicy. So you know what? We've had that 10-minute warm-up, so let's just get right into it. ArenaNet have released a roadmap, but it's more like, well, you know, the first step on a roadmap. Of course, it is what we can expect in Q1 of 2020 for Guild Wars 2. And it has perhaps rustled people a little bit, right? I think it's made people a little bit nervous, a little bit upset about the game, and perhaps made people realize that they don't actually really want to know what's coming because they might not like it. So I think that set the scene there. So Nike, take it away. Like, what's the, give me the take.
Yeah, so like it's, what they released is the first bullet point on a real roadmap. So we've got one bullet point now, just a few more, and we'll actually have a real roadmap. But ArenaNet would respond to this criticism by saying, we didn't say this was a roadmap. It doesn't say this is a roadmap anywhere on the blog post. This is just your, like, spinning it out of control. But the truth of the matter is, the only reason they released what they did was because people were begging on Reddit for a roadmap. So it's obvious that this was somewhat in response to that. So my take was that at first I was like really, well, I wouldn't say mad. I was just more like, holy shit, like, how dumb is this? Like, I was really like bothered by it. But then I've changed my take to now I'm more embarrassed for them, because it's really just a stunning incompetence, and being unable to modernize your company's culture with the times. Like, if you're a 4-year-old and you're coloring and you go outside the lines and you're just like scribbling all over the page, like, that's kind of how 4-year-olds color. But if you're still doing that when you're like 9, you're kind of probably on the track to being a slow adult who's not very, who's probably going to be collecting state disability pension for the rest of your life. But so yeah, like maybe in like 2005, when companies weren't like so good at messaging, like, what ArenaNet did is like the equivalent of coloring outside the line. Like, they tried to color, but it's kind of embarrassing. And it's sort of like, imagine like your friend's kid is like, hey, look at this thing I colored, and and they show you the page, and it's like just scribbles all over the page, and the kid's like 10, and you're like, ooh, yeah, it looks great. Awesome. It's just really embarrassing, because they're supposed to be a AAA company. Like, they're a AAA game developer, supposedly. How can you fail this hard at something so basic as giving a roadmap? And it is an incredible fail, because they have to have a roadmap. They, like, the game, like, the management has a roadmap. They know roughly when episode 3 is coming out. They know roughly when episode 4 is coming out. They know roughly what features episode 3 is going to have. They know roughly what features episode 4. One of them's likely to have a raid. One of them's likely to have a fractal. They know these things. They know roughly when Swiss is coming. They know roughly, they don't have to commit to a date. They don't have to say September 19th is episode 4, but they can at least say episode 4 is Q4 2020. You know, like, they can do that. They have that internally. They know. Like, Living Story is not going to, like, maybe it'll get delayed a week because they find bugs here or there, or 2 weeks. It's not going to get delayed a quarter. So it costs you nothing to say Q3, episode 3, Q2 2020. Big deal. Like that is not hard to do, and it's not a commitment, and it's not one of these things where they're going to get burned later. It's just so like it's almost it's so embarrassing that you start to wonder, like, do they even know how to do what they want to do? Like I can't imagine like the person who is in charge of their messaging being satisfied with that product. That's just really, really embarrassing for them. And you can't even be mad, because it's just like, can you be mad at a little kid who doesn't color inside the lines? No, you can't be mad at that little kid. You just have to be like, good job, buddy. Rub him on the head and send him on his way. You just got to go, yep, well, he's probably never going to get it. And he's going to be coloring outside the lines metaphorically his whole life. That's just how his life's going to be.
Well, okay.
And that's how, and that's just how you got to feel with ArenaNet. It's like, ArenaNet's going to put up cringy ass shit forever, and you got to deal with it. And they're not going to communicate ever with the community properly, ever.
Now,
and that's just it. That's it.
To be fair, right? This is a big step, right? This is a really big step for ArenaNet, right? Like a year ago, they never would have released anything like this, right? And yeah, and a lot of the information we kind of already knew, but isn't that kind of telling about like why they don't do a roadmap? Like, isn't Guild Wars 2 actually insanely predictable to a certain extent, right? Like
yeah,
it's gonna be living story every 2 to 3 months, and they add some festivals, and then there might be a raid and a fractal, but that's part of the excitement of raiding, is that it's got to keep you guessing, right? Like you don't know if it's coming or not, right? So I don't think the roadmap is kind of nice. I think it was well presented as well. They had some nice graphics set up there as well. Obviously, it wasn't quite as far into the future and didn't really cover all the bases of all the different types of content, but I don't know. It's kind of like, Mike Z, when he was appointed to be overlord of Guild Wars 2, he made that long post that was kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to develop the game, right? And that what didn't really satisfy people. This kind of seems to be the next iteration of that. And we know about 3 months into the future now, right? So I don't know, maybe next time we're going to know 6 months into the future. But
nope.
Nope. You don't think they would ever iterate on this process?
I mean, maybe the backlash will be so strong that ArenaNet only does things in response to backlash. So maybe the backlash from this is so strong that they will iterate and they'll improve. I mean, it's hard to tell. They are sometimes capable of responding to backlash. So it could happen, actually.
Yeah, I mean, have they...
We'll learn about the second episode of some Char side story that no one cares about. We'll get that in the next roadmap.
So there's a new feature, right, coming as well, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't anything coming in Q2, right? But yeah, I think it doesn't answer a lot of the questions, as you say. Like it leaves a lot of people quite dissatisfied, because there are a lot of questions that are somewhat unanswered, right? And they kind of are, though. Like there have been a few articles that have indicated that like a lot of content is being developed, like raids and fractals are still in development. Of course, that may have changed now potentially, right? Like with how things have been going. But I don't know, like to a certain extent, I think this was a pretty good job, right? It is a little bit depressing for me, I'm not gonna lie, because it means that a raid is presumably at least 3 or 4 months away, right? Which is like, oh no, oh dear. So I mean, yeah,
we kind of expected that. I don't think anyone expected a raid to ship with episode 2. Like, I think people might have expected a fractal, but I don't think anyone would have put money on Wing 8 coming with episode 2.
I probably would have expected Wing 8 to come with say episode 3 if I was around the time. Approximately
imagine it being so crazy that the roadmap had one more bullet point that said episode 3 June or May with a raid wing. Like that would have been an interesting choice to make
I think the direction would be just like to confirm it, right? Like you don't necessarily have to say when it's coming, but just say that it is 100% coming, right? Because ArenaNet do seem to be a little bit evasive you know, with dealing with a lot of these things. They just don't really address it with the raid scene as well. So I don't know, like with the roadmap, I you know, I kind of have to say, like, I'm not really that upset with it because it didn't really tell me anything I didn't already know to a certain extent. I suppose that perhaps on its own is a reason to be somewhat upset with the roadmap. I was like, well, what's the point? You didn't tell me anything, right? I already knew this, right? Except for Visions of the Past, right? And I think Visions of the Past is a really interesting thing. Like, as you say, this is the new type of story content, right? Which we know that most of the player base is that's the main game mode for like 95+% of the player base. And this is where things do get a little bit worrying. Like, for me, I don't know why I'm even saying this. I've known this for a very long time, and I think a lot of us have known this for a very long time. But like, this game is not going to refocus, right? In fact, they're doubling down. They're refocusing in on the same thing. The story is going from priority number 1 to priority number 0. Right, and they're just going to keep adding more and more of this. Going to keep doing that instead of focusing on literally anything else like PvP or World versus Order raids or whatever. Right, it seems that those game modes are going to take even more of a back burner. Right, like that. I think that's kind of the implication. Right, within a new type of story content being added, it's just like, oh, okay, right, I see. You know, so yeah, they are redoubling their efforts and refocusing on Guild Wars 2, but they're only going to be refocusing on the parts of the game that I'm not very interested in, right? Which is like, oh, that is quite unfortunate, isn't it, right? But yeah, I don't know. It kind of sucks, man, and that's why I think that we need some perspective on this, right? Like, yeah, yes, like, you and I and probably quite a lot of the chat are probably a little bit unhappy with the roadmap and like what we actually know, but like we already knew it, and it's more of like a confirmation and like a sign of things to come, right? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they apparently have the resources to do like a whole new type of side content, and it's not anything cutting edge, like that's take the hint if you haven't already. Like that's what they're going to push. Yeah. I mean, and it wouldn't surprise me if there isn't going to be a Wing 8 if they just decided to cancel it halfway through development and just put those bosses as strike bosses, like, and watered them down. Like, that also wouldn't be the most surprising thing if it came to be. Chances are they will come out with Wing 8, but if they said, like, look, we're just going to double down on strikes and we pilfered the Wing 8 bosses for strike bosses, like, okay, that's kind of what everyone saw coming.
I think, yeah, it's definitely a possibility that something like that might end up happening, right, with some of this content being recycled. Like, yeah, as you say, like, I would be very surprised. I would be quite surprised if they didn't release Wing 8. Like, there's a lot of implications we've had that it is in the works, right? I was raiding on NA with Bobby, and he said that, oh, what stories would you guys like to hear about, like, in raids? So I know that is a pretty strong implication. And that... they've said that they are developing Wing 8. It's like it's been in development. Like, this was in a few articles online, a few interviews with Mike Z, I think, that this, raids and fractals are in development. So it's like they might be on hold, but they will certainly be there as well. But I actually really want to address the maintenance mode meme, because like this is actually like, oh god, this is such a warped perspective. Like, maintenance. Do you guys know what maintenance mode actually means? Okay, I'm gonna educate you guys on what maintenance mode is. Okay, maintenance mode is Guild Wars 1. Okay, that game is in maintenance mode, right? Sometimes they tweak a few of the skills, they put some festivals in, and they reduce the prices on the cash shop, right, to make people play the game a little bit more, because it was fucking ridiculous. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, if you guys think the cash shop in Guild Wars 2 is bad, you should see it in Guild Wars 1. It's like $10 for a bank tab. Have fun with that one, dude. That's spicy. But anyway, Guild Wars 2 is not in maintenance mode, and honestly, it probably won't be for like years. Okay. Right, it will be. So basically, non-living world Guild Wars 2. Well, dude, okay, listen up, chat. Okay, let's just evaluate that statement. right? Living World is the primary content of Guild Wars 2. So yes, Guild Wars 2 is in maintenance mode. If you take away the priority content of Guild Wars 2, then yes, indeed, Guild Wars 2 is in maintenance mode. But no, it isn't in maintenance mode. And honestly, it won't be for years, right? Like, it's just taken a different direction that you don't like. And look what Rocker's done, dude. You need to all be Rocker, all role players Rocker. If you're unhappy, you just gotta fuck off. I guess it's the only way. It's the only way.
And burn all the bridges on the way out, just like Rocker.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Rocker's Twitter is great, dude. It's fucking great. It is absolutely fantastic. It is really, really good. But yeah. I really don't think the game is in maintenance mode. I mean, the game is certainly not what I particularly want it to be anymore. I still like the game, right? And I can still enjoy it, but it's maybe not the glory days, but it really it isn't in maintenance mode. And sorry guys, you're kidding yourself. And if you think it is, right? If it makes you feel any better saying it's in maintenance mode, you can do that, right? I won't stop you. I won't. But that is how it goes, man. Like that is what it is. And maintenance mode. I'll tell you what maintenance mode is a little bit like, actually. You have it's more like PvP and World versus World, right? Like PvP is just gonna get maintained right now, like because there was some stuff in the roadmap about PvP. Like, they're gonna do the balance patch and stuff like that. But like that's not a lot of resources that are really being assigned to that, right? Like the PvP balance is basically being handled by CMC, right? By one guy, as far as I understand, like maybe like a few developers, right, who are in charge of this, compared to like the hundreds of people they have, like 250 people working on the game, right? Like World versus World, I mean, World versus World is seeing a little bit of active development as well, right? They are working on alliances, presumably, right? Presumably, alliances will eventually come to the result. You know what? I think the World versus World thing is kind of telling. Like, I know this is obviously going to be a bit of an odd one, and maybe a bit of a stinger for some World vs. World. I think they put the Warclaw balance in the roadmap just to indicate that they are still thinking about World vs. World, right? Like, they knew that they didn't actually have anything to really show off in this roadmap, right? But they said, aha, Warclaw balance, right? Because they want to keep it, yes, World versus World. Keep it in your mind, right? Because we're going to get to it eventually, right? Like, they're going to address some of the issues, the concerns people have with the Warclaw, and then alliances will eventually be implemented into the game. Like, I wonder if they do a roadmap every quarter, I wouldn't be surprised to see the alliances in quarter
a roadmap
3.
every quarter is the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard in my life. Like, that's just a coming soon post. It's not a roadmap if you have to do it every quarter, it's not a roadmap. It's like real-time directions. Like, it's not like, it's not a look into the future. It's like a look down the street. Like, it's right there. I don't know. Like, the whole idea of a roadmap is like, so you can go, oh, this game's got a good future for the next year or the next 2 years. Like, I can like looks like they've got a plan. I mean, if they're just doing it every quarter, it seems like they're just making shit up as they go along, which might be the case.
It perhaps doesn't inspire confidence, and I think, well, I would certainly like to see ArenaNet improve on that, right? And extending their roadmap out into the future, maybe a few more stones in the pathway into the future of Guild Wars 2. That would be pretty good, I think. But I don't know. I don't think it was perhaps as entirely much of a disaster as a lot of people seem to say. I mean, I understand that it looks very bad to the veteran community. I think it definitely does, and particularly if you're into raids, you're probably not going to be very happy with it, right? But
I think the roadmap was worse for Fractal players. Than raiders.
That's true.
Because really, no one expected a raid this patch or this on episode 2. But like, Fractals have been overdue for a really long time now. Like, it's going to be well over a year since the last Fractal, if we ever get another one. So, like Fractal players should probably be the ones that are like the most forlorn about the future at this point.
Yeah, but one thing I will bring up here is, okay, like if you're into endgame PvE, right? Like there is no way you were ever, there's no way you've been happy in this game for like 2 or 3 years, right? Let's be honest here, right? Look, okay, that's how it that's really how it is, right? Like 1 raid a year with 3 bosses, and where progression takes like 4 hours, right? And then it's over. That's obviously not going to be good enough, right? To keep like end game PvE players happy. And fractals are the same thing, right? Like with fractals, you get, again, like kind of like 1 fractal a year, right? I mean that is not good, right? That is not good at all, right? Like there's no way anyone was really happy with that.
After Wing 4 and said that this is what it's going to be from now on, is 9 to 10 months per. Just like that's what it's been. So if they had just been honest about that and said our development timeline for raids in Guild Wars 2 is 10 months, and they had said that right after Wing 4, it would have been a lot different. Instead, what they said was, we're going to go faster, we're going to go faster, we're going to go faster, and it just never happened. And people feel strung along by that. It's just not a good. That's sort of why people get mad. Not necessarily at the cadence, but more the fact that they were like, we're going to go faster, we're going to go faster, we're going to go faster, and then they never actually delivered on that.
Yeah.
And you wonder, did they intend to actually go faster, or did they just say that to string us along? And I'm sure they probably at some level intended to do it, but the devs from the raid team kept getting poached to go create living story assets, so that pretty much sealed the deal.
Yeah, and that's I think this has been a big stumbling block for ArenaNet. Like there was always, oh yeah, we're restructuring. We're going to get these living story episodes out faster. We're going to get these raids out faster, right? Like all this development is going to be speeding up. And oh yeah, that didn't really happen, did it? And that to be obviously honest, doesn't look good.
If they weren't hemorrhaging employees to Amazon and Microsoft for like the last 3 years, that might actually have worked. You know, like they might actually have had the employee retention necessary to fully staff all their teams with veteran developers and actually make system adjustments to push content out faster. But it feels like they're like constantly having to train new people in real time, like to just meet the old development cadence.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2019 in general has been a bit of a rough year for ArenaNet, shall we say?
That's an understatement, considering all the upheavals.
Just with a lot of issues that they've had in their development process, and of course their company structuring as well. So it probably hasn't been the best, right? So like, I mean, obviously, no, maybe I'm in denial here, but I think maybe we should kind of take a look at 2020 and wait for that. Like, I think they will actually deliver in terms of like story production. Like, if you're into that sort of thing, then they will be, they will probably get an episode out every 2 months. I think they will actually do that, right? And to be honest, look, I think this is a very cold take. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like a very, very cold take here. But I seriously think that if you're really, really into Guild Wars 2 and you're a really veteran hardcore player, then pretty much the best thing you can do is just see if the company has anything else in store other than Guild Wars 2. Because Guild Wars 2 is very much on its course, and I think it is extremely unlikely to veer away from that course now, right? So I think it really is just, well, you just gotta kind of see what happens, man. You just gotta wait and see how things are gonna go. Easy game.
Yeah, wait from afar in a different game, preferably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the point, right? Like, play it as the side game. Yeah. 2 has been in denial for years. Like, this is like factually untrue. Oh my god. I should be way more ban happy. I should.
There's way more people in denial. There's some real white knights in the community, and those people are in like a savage level of denial. Like they, like, I mean, people tried to spin Mike O leaving as a positive, like things are gonna get better now. People tried to spin the layoffs as a positive, like oh my god, like that's denial. Those people are hard in denial.
Yeah, it's true. No, it is true. Yeah. It's the community is a little bit weird, but I mean, like, it's a bit of a tangent to go off on. But to be honest, I actually don't really think that. Maybe the Guild Wars 2 community is a little bit worse than this, and other games that like every community is like this. Like everyone's always in bloody denial about like, oh, the game's perfect, it's so good. There's always people like that, and there's always people who shit on the game, right? It's just how it is, right? There's
Yeah, think of all the people who quit in 2012 thinking the game like they were done with it then. That was however many years ago, 8 years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, people will quit because like, wait a minute, there's no gear grind. What am I gonna do? It's time to leave. I'm getting out of here, right? But that's yeah, an entirely. Teapot said layoffs were good for the game. No, I didn't. What? Oh my god, no. Okay, I'm actually turning off the chat. I just closed the chat. All right, there we go. That's better. Right. Anyway, the Guild Wars 2 Omega little people. Yeah, that's us though. That's what we're doing here. Okay, that is what we're doing. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just it's a really tricky one. I think that most people are probably fairly happy with it or ambivalent towards the roadmap because you know that the content that most Guild Wars 2 players actually want to see is being developed, right? You know, it is being developed as a result of that, right? And that's what people expected, as well as people know. And honestly, if you were expecting anything else, guys, you're fucking kidding yourself. Okay, you are kidding yourself, right? It's it is how it is. Okay, and we can't really do anything too much about that. Exactly.
I want to meet someone who's like super excited for this Char side story, like not just like, yeah, I'm excited for any new content. I mean, I want someone who's like, yes, this speaks to me. This is exactly what I was hoping ArenaNet would come out with, was instanced side story content where I don't play as my character. Like that's what, like I want to meet the person who's like full on nerd hype for Visions of the Past. Who are these people? I got to meet one. That's just.
Well, I mean, it's a bit like the Guild Wars 1 bonus missions, right?
Yeah, those were very side. Those were like you had to pay to get those, and they had like ridiculously good rewards, which these I don't think so. I don't think these will. And they had like actually relevant lore, like really relevant lore, like this, like telling like the Saul D'Alessio story and stuff. Like that was, and like that's pretty cool. This is like a story about like some Char guy that like no one knows who he is and like no one cares about. Like it's like they almost came up with the idea for the Char car, like that we get to drive in this episode, and we're like, how can we shoehorn this Char car into the story? Well, we can't, but we could do some side story and get this Char car in. So
well, I think what they want to do is they want to flesh out the story, because I think one of the problems with Living Story is that it does always feel a little bit rushed, like it doesn't really have enough time to develop properly. I mean, look at the episode we just got, right? Episode 1. The actual story content, like the time they had to tell you that story, like realistically, was about an hour, right? Maybe even a little bit less than an hour to play through the story if you're really going for it. So I think that what they want to do is they want to give a lot of these characters, they have quite a lot of characters to deal with, and they want to bring in backstories so you can understand them a little bit better than just like, oh yeah, here's a character, by the way, you're supposed to care about this person, kind of know about them. So I mean, I kind of see what they're trying to do here. I think it does make sense. I think it does make sense that what they're trying to do with this stuff. But wouldn't it just make sense to just put this in the main story and just go through it? Because look, this is something I see in a lot of TV shows, and it really triggers me. Like, and maybe I'm just too old for this sort of thing, but I really don't like it when a show is like going back and forth to the past and the future. Right, that just pisses me off. Like, just tell me it. Just let's go sequentially here. Like flashbacks, overly high amounts of flashbacks are just annoying. Okay, it's like, it's just weird. Like, stop it. I mean,
yeah, because almost all of that could be like communicated in current time dialogue. Like, you can build like if you have to rely on flashbacks to like tell your story, it just means that you're not good enough at telling the story. Like, you can't convey this information. Like, let's say you're writing some like fantasy story about like some like war between like the elves and the dwarves. Like, if you have to flash back to show the battle rather than like having that come up organically in modern day dialogue, like, that's just bad writing. Like, that's just not good writing.
Yeah, I would. It's kind of like I would prefer them to develop the story in Living World rather than simply like just adding a new thing to tack onto it, right? Like, why not make the episodes bigger, right? Like, the episodes longer, or have more content in them to develop these characters instead of having like a separate thing to go and do this. I mean, they must have some kind of like overarching plan why you would need to do this, but I don't know. I'll kind of wait and see, right? I'll wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, the other criticism of something like this is that, and it's a criticism that's fair to hold to the bonus mission pack too, is that it's a role-playing game and you are role-playing as your character, which is the character presumably you wanted to play. You didn't want to play as Ryland. You wanted to play as the character you created and that you've been playing with for thousands of hours. So it's weird to suddenly be inserted into a different role that really has no continuity with what you've been playing. It's just a very weird. It's a risk as a storyteller to like change the point of view of the story you're telling. Like, if the whole story, like let's say you were doing like a whole mini series, and the first 6 books were from one guy's point of view, and then in the 7th book it was just like a totally different person's point of view. Like, that would be really weird. It makes more sense if like you're changing POVs like every few chapters, like in like Game of Thrones or whatever. But if it's like been one POV for 6 books and then you like randomly switch in the 7th, that is just completely bizarre storyline.
I don't think that's it. Yeah, it's a bit unusual to have that so abrupt, but I think that may not actually be how it goes. Like, it may be more like the fractals, right? Like the reactive fractal, or maybe the Ascalonian fractal, like urban fractal, because I don't know, maybe you don't exactly become Ryland, but it's more like you are a character around Ryland, right? And you kind of observe how this character
that would be the better way
goes
to
about
do it, for sure. Especially if like your character was wearing the same gear that you had, like that's like that's why people play Guild Wars 2, is to dress up their character with the gear that they've and the skins that they farmed, and then it's like you're putting that away. Like, that's just a very weird thing. Like, and it seems like a lot of effort for something that people will probably play once through.
Well, that's the name of the game for Guild Wars 2, though, is single playthrough content. Like, that's the priority of the game. That's what most of the game is. So I think it will be well produced, right? Like, I think it will be well executed. Just like the story, I think is fairly well executed, right? It will be done pretty well, I think.
I think they try to get replayability and living story through the map, though, and like collections that happen in the world. I don't know how obviously the Visions of the Past is not going to be like an area on the map. It's probably going to be an instance. So it's harder to see that as replayable as a living world story. Like, as not replayable as a living worlds episode is, this might be even less replayable.
Yeah, that's obviously a worry. when you have a lot of content being added to the game in your MMORPG that isn't replayable, then, well, I mean, that is a little bit unfortunate, I suppose. But I don't know. Such is life, my friends. Such is life. And I do share your concerns with being taken out of the game, out of your character. It's something that Guild Wars 2 tends to do quite a lot. Like, oh yeah, have a vehicle, have a special action hotkey, right? Be transformed into something else, right? Oh, just press F instead. Like they're a little bit scared to make you actually play the game, right? They would much rather have you watch the game play itself to a certain extent than actually engage with the content, right? And that, I don't know, I do find that a little bit sad, but you know, hey, look, it's their game. Like, that's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. You know, like, so, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a movie game. There are plenty of games that are highly successful, that are very centered around story. It's just that none of those happen to be MMORPGs, but just Guild Wars 2 is, right?
Wasn't there like a Metal Gear Solid game like years and years ago that was like, it was like literally 45 minutes of actual gameplay, but like 6 hours of cutscenes or something like that? Like,
I really wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised even a tiny bit, actually, if that was the case. I think that series is somewhat infamous for being a bit of a movie game, right? You know,
that's a good direction for ArenaNet to go. Honestly, just give us instead of doing the living story, just give us an hour-long cutscene. Like that'd be cool. It would save a lot of time.
Yeah, it's efficient. It's efficient stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I don't know. ArenaNet. But, you know, hey, look, at least we have strike missions, right? Because, you know, we've been talking a little bit about raids and fractals, but I think it would be a little bit wrong of us to not therefore discuss strike missions. Now,
which also didn't make the roadmap. Why not mention that there's going to be a strike with episode 2 or not? I don't know. Like that's why only having the one bullet point is such a failure on the roadmap. They have one bullet point, Q1. There's no strike mission mentioned. So now, where there previously had been no uncertainty about strike missions, now there is uncertainty. Now we've introduced the idea that maybe there won't be strike missions with every episode. How many will there be one with episode 3? We don't know. Will it, like, now there's uncertainty where there didn't need to be uncertainty. So, like, that's why you need the roadmap to be long enough to like show how you're going to serve that part of the community.
Yeah, and perhaps that's where the roadmap needed to be a little bit more detailed, right? Because strike missions, I think it's fair to assume that like a strike, maybe one strike will come out with every episode, I would think. Maybe
I would probably say that if I were them.
Yeah. There are two possibilities, right? Either they released 3 strike missions now, and that will be us until, you know, maybe another 3 episodes down the line, or they're going to release additional strikes with every map. Now, there are a few things that would maybe suggest that some strike mission stuff would be coming with the next episode, because there is like this 4th unused arena that's a little bit unfinished that got data mined from the game in the Raven Sanctum, and the Raven Sanctum is in its nature like very expandable, right? They can just keep changing the arena and having a new boss in there, so there may be a new boss added in the next episode, and then in episode 3 as well, right? So we may have that. Like, whether it will be more difficult or the difficulty level of it is yet, of course, right now unknown. It is very, very much unknown. But I don't know, like strikes. Do you think strike missions are a success in Guild Wars 2? Because I am struggling to get a good read on it, right? Because like on the one hand, I think they're doing really well because you get groups pretty quickly for them usually. Right, usually you get pretty quick groups, but on the other hand, you don't see a lot of teams in the LFG, and I kind of put that down to because it's very, you know, fast, like in and out, boom, let's go, get it done, beat that boss down, easy game, right? But do you think there's a really high player like a retention rate in strikes?
I have no idea. I don't. It's hard to know what is considered a success for strikes. Like what when they were envisioning where it fits within like the Guild Wars 2 puzzle of content, who knows what they thought, like if we hit this amount of engagement, it'll be a success. Anything less than that will be not a success. Yada yada. Like we don't know what is considered a success on as far as they're concerned. Like if it was like 5% of the PvE community playing it daily, doing like one strike mission a day, that would be a success for us. Okay, if that's the case and they're doing that, then sure. But I just don't know. And I guess like the only thing they've ever said about strikes is that they looked at it as a stepping stone to raids. And if it hasn't improved, if the existence of strikes hasn't increased raid participation, then it's been not successful on that account. And I think honestly, I don't think it could be a stepping stone to raids. So they should probably just focus on making it an end unto itself.
What do I think about that? I'm not sure. Like I think it can actually acclimatize people to being in a 10-man group. I think like the very existence of having 10 players is what actually worries people. I think it is like, oh, 10 players, that's quite a lot, isn't it? So I think maybe it can actually be a pretty effective stepping stone to raid, especially with stuff like the Bone Skinner. Like, you know, you're going to need a healer, right, if you want to be able to succeed in a normal group, right? You know, otherwise you will fail. So like it can kind of almost like prepare you for the kind of challenge you might encounter in a raid scenario, and introduce you to the concepts of how 10-man groups work, like with stuff like Chronos and Druid healers, right? Ellie healers, right? That sort of thing. So I think they can be a stepping stone, but has it been a stepping stone? Has it actually
I don't know.
done that?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I think raid population is weird.
And the other thing too is like the barrier to getting into raids before was never about like mechanics. It's always been social. Like people that didn't want to join a training group or didn't know training groups existed, or people that have anxiety issues and don't want to join any group. Like the barriers are pretty much social. Like if you were like, I want to get into raids, like nothing was really stopping you before. So I don't necessarily see someone who felt that they were blocked from getting in raids before changing their opinion on that. Like if you were afraid to hop on Discord and talk to people in your group, you're probably still afraid to hop on Discord and talk to people in your group. Like, I don't think this is going to change.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, because it is a very easy thing to get into a strike, and there is, you know, as you say, less of that social barrier. This is particularly the case because in the raid community, raiding as a pug is probably really annoying unless you make your own groups right now. Because it turns out that people only really want to kill the bosses, right? They don't really want to have fun. And they don't really want to wipe even once. And so the raid community has become a little bit weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like some of the things people say about the raid community are indeed true. Like there are a lot of groups that are going to require kill proof and LI in extortionate, ridiculous amounts, like 400 LI, like 50 KP. I mean, seriously, guys, right? My goodness. I've joined, you know, I've been in some like 50 KP Kadim groups, and they just get hard stuck, right?
Why you even ask for 50? Like,
that's
is
a lot.
50? Oh, you mean I was thinking 50 LI.
No, 50 KP, 50 kill proof.
Like 50, yeah. That 50 Doom or Kadim kills is quite a bit, yeah. But like, man, like a 50 LI group, that would be a disaster waiting to happen. You might as well be 0 LI at that point.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not really that important, but I think the raid scene is kind of atrophied to the point where getting into it is probably very hard, actually. If you're trying to go in there as a solo player, and you don't really... Okay, so it's very easy if you're willing to join a guild, right? And you want to, get in on that action. There's going to be certain raid nights when there's a raid training on, or, you come there at a specific time with the boys, you group up and go, right? But what if you're not like that? What if you play Guild Wars 2, okay? And you don't really like that, and you're very used to always being able to do anything you want whenever you want it, right? Like completely unrestrained by any kind of social structure, right? If that is how you've been playing Guild Wars 2, then yeah, raids are obviously gonna be like, whoa, this is a bit of a commitment I'm gonna have to make here, guys. Oh dear, not good. So
yeah, you're right. That's like one of the reasons why I don't want to raid anymore myself. Like, I actually mentioned this on my stream last night when I was playing PoE, is that like I don't want to be on anyone else's schedule anymore. Yeah. Like I can't deal with the fact, like if it was like, oh, our guild's raid is at 8 p.m. on a Monday night, like what if Monday night at 8 p.m. I don't feel like fucking raiding? Like then I'm like burning people, like I don't want to like ghost people or disappoint people. Like I just don't want to be beholden to anyone's schedule. So I totally sympathize with people that are like that.
Yeah, especially if you don't really, if you're not as invested in the game, right? Like I don't mind like rocking up and playing the game, right? Because, well, I play Guild Wars 2 a lot, and I have a good amount of free time in which to do that, right? But if you really don't want to dedicate a fair amount of time to the game, and you don't want to be on a schedule, like as you say, then yeah, like raiding is going to be tricky, and like that's perhaps why, okay, I think it's almost like good if ArenaNet let raids finally die, okay? Like, hey, don't bite my head off, guys, right? Because it's obviously a bad fit for Guild Wars 2, right? Like raids and hard endgame content that requires a bit of coordination is obviously very against the spirit of Guild Wars 2. And the same is kind of true for PvP and World versus World. Like World versus World maybe less so. But look, like PvP, look how many teams stick together, right? Like teams don't really stick that well. You know what I mean? Like they don't particularly stick that well. But there you go. It's a bit of an unfortunate one. It is a bit of an unfortunate one. But yeah, I'm just not sure if it was ever really going to be it was ever going to work out particularly well for Guild Wars 2. Like obviously, like Wing, I think the success used to be a lot higher, and maybe the community was a little bit different as well. Do you think was the community different actually, Nike? And like half the
it was bigger. Yeah, I mean, like it was bigger, and I think the fact that legendary armor was like
the incentive,
an insane carrot.
Yeah,
on the stick, like that was like a big selling point for a lot of people. Like
yeah.
Like I don't think anyone was nearly as hyped for Coalescence as they were for their first set of legendary armor. Like that was like insane. And like that's when you had people, as pugging was always bad, and that was when you had people that were willing to do it because they were going to get legendary armor at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that was enough. And it also doesn't hurt that they were coming out with a new raid wing every 3 months. Like at that point either. That was pretty good. They were cultivating a good raiding community at that point.
Absolutely. And do you think that perhaps one of the parts in the decline of the problems with the decline of raiding was actually the kind of lack of continuation of similar reward scales, right? Because this may be just because of like a time thing and maybe a difficulty thing, but like wings 1 through 4, they are what you see done quite a lot. Like whereas like wings 6 and 7 in particular are somewhat uncommon. Whereas wing 6, like no one does, dude. Like wing 6 is a wing that you is probably the least common raid wing, right?
I think Largo's pug killer, and as a result, they don't even get to Kadim, the pug group.
Yeah. So if they
and I could even see if you're in a bad enough pug, like just wiping to the first boss and wing 6 over and over again because some person just won't use the sword or get the swords or lets the swords get through. Like that, I could just see that being like completely cancerous in a pug.
Yeah. But do you think that if the raid wings were more incentivized, say if there was a legendary weapon you could obtain or a legendary hat or something like that,
I mean, Legendary
would that be
Ring
better?
wasn't good enough to like blow people's minds, so it would have to be something like a legendary cape or a legendary mount. A legendary mount would have done it, to be honest. If there had been like a legendary, if like the sky scale had been a raid reward, oh my god, that would have been sick. Like, could you imagine the outrage? Oh god, it would have been great.
They could have had a skin, right? Maybe not the entire mount, right? But they could have had a skin.
Imagine it. The entire mount of raid reward.
Oh no.
Oh my god, the elitism. You could just be going to the open world with your legendary mount and just hovering over people. That would be so good.
I mean, take that. That way would have the community would have erupted.
Because we know it's so far outside of ArenaNet's range that they would never do that. But like, that would have been enough to like keep the raid scene alive for sure. Like the raid scene would have been like blowing up if like Wing 5 there were like there's going to be a legendary mount that does things that no other mount in the game can do. People would be like, oh, that would have been really good.
It would have been very, very exciting. That dude, that raid selling. Think of the profits on that, dude. Yeah, that would be good.
Yummy would be able to quit his actual good job and just raid sell full time.
Yeah,
so much
RMT, dude. Like
so much.
Yeah. Make all the gold, then like RMT it away. Easy money,
he just got what Yummy should have done is gotten a referral link with one of those RMT things.
Oh yeah.
And then like given the RMT referral link to the whales, so he gets paid on both ends.
That's big.
The whales like hook him up both ways.
That would actually be huge. That would be massive gaming there, for sure. But I don't know, like. It's really interesting, actually. I was thinking about this the other day, right? Because like the raid wings, they haven't really declined in quality. I would even argue the opposite. I would say that wings 6 and 7, probably some of their best work. Like wings 5, 6, and 7, some of their best work. Like 7, I think Kadim 2 is lacking a little bit. I think they maybe ran out of time and they wanted to add something else to him. But it's an interesting encounter, right? And Wing 6 is the best wing. Okay, very good. Sabir and Adina, good quality. However, like the players seem to get less and less engaged over time. Like, what do you think? Like the main reason is there behind that? Is it just simply because like the gap between the raids like causing the player base to diminish, and so people kind of get like they don't learn them as effectively?
It depends on since the raid community has like radically different people. Like on one end of the spectrum, you have like speed clear guilds, and on the other end, you have like music guilds that like play raids. Like there's definitely like a very wide spectrum of players that have different motivations. So it's hard to like point to one reason, but I can say for the speed clear thing, I think a lot of people completely lost interest in Wing 7 because the bosses were very much like clockwork, and it wasn't so easy to like come up with different strats for them besides just changing. Like the way to improve your kill time was just figure out a better comp or a way to cheat and bring an extra DPS or two. Like it wasn't like you couldn't do like some next level strat like you could in some of the other wings. And that's like what sort of hurt at least the speed clear thing, especially for Wing 7. And Wing 7 also had like a really lame progression. I hate to say it. So people like had no hype afterwards. I think Wing 6 had a really fun progression with a lot of guilds like competing and trying hard to get worlds first. And that sort of carried over afterwards into like the speed clear thing and like coming up with like optimizing strats. And you didn't see that in Wing 7 so much. Wing 7 was more about like just finding the right comp and then like executing.
But do you think that then kind of rippled down to the general raid community as well and caused it to decline as well? Like the lack of hype, the lack of energy around it, does that hurt the
I think the general raid community is probably more motivated by reward.
Yeah.
Like the average like pugger is probably more into the reward. And I think Wing 7 didn't really have much.
All right.
Once you've done it once.
in that case, you know what it's time for. It's time for this. Okay. I am really curious what you'll say to this, but do you think that's a problem with the game or with the community?
I think it's probably a problem with the community because the non-raiding community won't tolerate raids having good rewards. The type of rewards, like we were saying, imagine a legendary mount in raids. People would shit their pants. And the people who'd be shitting their pants the most would be the non-raiders who were hella jelly that the raiders are getting exclusive rewards that are better than what they can get. So they won't tolerate that. And as a result, ArenaNet won't do it. So it kind of like the non-raiders have sort of settled it that raids will never get like super special rewards ever again, like legendary armor.
Do you think it could be time to move away from like a really reward-centric mindset in MMOs? I think like, look, I'm playing WoW Classic, and this is like the ultimate epitome of this, okay? Because there is a video game mode, guys, called Alterac Valley. It's a bit like World versus World. It's like a giant map, and you start PvPing each other in it, okay? But do you know how people play Alterac Valley, guys? You rush past each other and avoid as much PvP as possible because it's more efficient to obtain the rewards by simply like almost like ignoring the other players. Okay,
well, that reminds me of back in like during the World v World Season 1, once the match for the week was pretty much a foregone conclusion, everyone karma trained. And the Zergs would just circle the map opposite each other, capping, and just karma training and getting rewards and trying to like finish their collections for the week. Because and the Zergs would like go out of their way to avoid each other and just karma train. So that's sort of the same thing. Like,
yeah. And even worse, right? Okay, and even worse, like when you start to when the game goes long, okay, in Alterac Valley, they start going crazy. Like you know how in Octavine people start panicking, right? If it's like it looks like it's gonna fail.
Boy, do I know that.
Yeah, I know you do, right? If the match goes on longer than like 15 minutes, they start freaking out, saying like, "What the fuck? Leave the game. End it quickly, right? Come on, and just leave. Just go AFK. Just report everyone, right? It's like, what the fuck?" Okay, like this is such a massive problem in the fucking game. Seriously, guys, like we've got to get away from this garbage, right? Like only caring about rewards, being completely obsessed with rewards is ruining game communities, man. It makes them so bad, right? It absolutely kills MMO communities, right? Like, and honestly, I think it would actually be quite difficult to get me out of this position now, actually. Like, I need to have, like, a full rewards debate, because I genuinely think that, like, the reward-centric nature of MMORPGs is making them awful, right? And ruining communities. The fact that people will only do something for a carrot, right? And if they can't get the carrot, they get mad, right? That is a disaster for the developer and the players, okay? Right? It doesn't matter. Like, I think I saw in the chat that someone was like, "Oh yeah, if you put an equally shiny mount in like the open world PvE, right? Then they'll be okay with it." No, they won't. Okay? They absolutely won't. Like every single legendary weapon, every mount is all in like open world PvE, right? Like everyone can get this. It's really, really easy to get it, right? But when they put like one skin in raids, okay, people are like, oh dear, I can't get it. Oh my god, my gameplay experience is ruined. Oh no, right? Yeah, are people freaking out about Legendary Armor? Yes! Yes, they did! Yeah, they freaked out so hard about Legendary Armor, dude. What?
They freaked out so hard that they had to add it to they shoehorned it into PvP for some reason.
Yeah, they gave it, and I think that was a good decision, to be fair. Actually, I kind of like.
I mean, I don't blame them. Yeah. That was fine, but like that was purely in response to the people freaking out. So yes, there were people freaking out.
Yeah. But yeah, Guild Wars 2 is no. Look, no, guys. Okay, no, hit right. Listen up, guys. Listen up, chat. The reward should not be like a virtual bunch of piece of pixels. Okay, right? Okay, like, no, you play the game for fun. At Dark Glass, I am not being ignorant. Would you be having fun if your character never improved from character creation to endgame? Yes, because that is the entire point of the game. My characters in Guild Wars 2 haven't improved for like 10,000 hours of gameplay. Honestly, more than that, right? I haven't progressed whatsoever, like only horizontally, and also obviously by being better at the game, right? Like, just saying that in the chat is oh... That actually betrays your point to like an insane degree, actually, right? Like that is that proves my point, actually. Thank you for making the argument for me, my friend.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people cannot handle the idea of skill-based progression and getting better as a player as a source of progression. That is just way outside. These are the type of people that like they install Guild Wars 2, they play it, they craft a legendary armor, and then they quit, or legendary weapon, and then they quit because they've done everything there is. They've got the best thing that you can get, and they're done. And they're like, well, there's no end game, there's nothing left to do. It's like, well, you could get good. And they're like, what do you mean good? I got a legendary weapon. That's as good as I need to be. Like, the idea of like getting good and being like a skilled PvP or being a skilled raider, like that's just completely not... their brains like don't even acknowledge it as a possibility.
And look, guys, I am very much aware that the current MMO paradigm is reward-centric gaming. But haven't you ever stopped to wonder why? Haven't we ever thought about the fact that maybe there could be something else, a better way to do it that doesn't inherently have these problems, right? Okay? Like, that would be, wouldn't that be a little bit different? I mean, and once again, an example is being brought up in the chat about elite specializations and stuff like that. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, you know, I think you're trying to debate me, but you're unwittingly agreeing with me. Like, this is not a reward. This is horizontal progression. This is expanding the design scope of the game, allowing you to play in different ways and have different experiences and have different play styles, right? This is not... it doesn't have to be like a reward centric. Like, an elite specialization is not a reward, right? Or, you know, like more traits, that's not a reward. That's a core mechanic. That's part of the game's design, right? Like, that's a good thing. That's good design. That's well executed, right? That's taking it away from rewards. That's making it all about gameplay. Like a new elite spec. Oh, I can play a new build now. I can do this. I can do that. That means that the game itself is the reward, right? Okay, and that is what we need to move on to, right? Like, that is, again, it's a fantastic example of why getting rid of the reward-centric stuff is there, right? And it's not like trying to sell steaks in an ice cream shop. It's trying to sell a different flavor of ice cream, right? Okay, and it might be a new flavor that no one's ever tried yet, but it might be a flavor that actually everyone likes even more, right? It might be a better way of doing things.
I think there's certain people that are just externally motivated, and that's just human nature, is that a certain percentage of the population is externally motivated, and those people will never be able to push themselves. Like, if you want to lose weight and get in shape because you have a strong internal desire for that, you will be a lot more successful at doing it than if your goal is to get in shape to please someone else. It's just a matter of whether or not you're internally motivated or not. And I think there's just certain players that, like, if I play a game, any game, I want to be good at it. I want to learn the game and master it and like be as good as I can be. So but there's other players that, and that's just my own internal motivation forcing me to do it. Like, nothing's telling me I have to, except my own desire to improve. But there's a lot of players who don't have that, and they will only get as good as the game forces them to get, and not one iota better. And maybe, in fact, in many cases, less, because they'll just quit the game if the game's forcing them to get better than they can be.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I
just have
agree.
To jettison those players or not.
That's definitely, that's definitely like a big part of it, like having that desire to improve. But I think it doesn't even need to have to be like to that, like that type of motivation. It can simply be just that you like the gameplay, right? Like you like the game, right? And you have fun in it, right? Rather than like wanting to be better, wanting to improve. Of course, that's like a big part of Guild Wars 2 that is a little bit alien, this kind of skill-driven progression, instead of just like being more overpowered, right? Like, getting a bigger sword you can hit people with harder, right? And just, and win that way. But like, I think like games are enjoyable, right? They're just fun to play, right? That's kind of the point of them. And I saw this on a Reddit post, actually. So someone was like, this was like almost trolling, right? And this is my favorite kind of argumentation. Actually, they were like almost trolling the subreddit. Actually, they were saying something like, would you still play Guild Wars 2, right? If there was no more skins to collect, no more gold to earn, right? Like no more mounts to unlock, right? That sort of thing. Like if you answer no, then like why are you playing, right? And that's that's a very I don't know. I think that's that should maybe trigger a little bit of introspection there, like perhaps. Like,
I think the answer is I would for me I would still play like if that was the case, like. Like maybe you still have achievements and like you want to get you could play for achievements or whatever, but yeah, I don't think that like the lack of new skins would cause me to like stop playing for sure.
Yeah. And it's oh my god. What are we doing, dude? I mean, because I agree with you. I would still play the game, right? Like even if there were no rewards, right? Because I don't play the fucking game for rewards. I'm pretty sure that anyone who's watched the stream knows that I don't care, right? I give away all my bloody gold, right? Multiple times. I'm actually impoverished right now, guys. Okay, please, guys, spare some gold, guys. A little bit of change, like right now. It's not,
Use, Roy's PvP bank referral link.
Right now. Things not looking so hot for me in terms of the Guild Wars 2 finances, but I mean, there you go. That's how it is. That is my take. That's my hot take for the day, boys. Okay, and I think that is a hot take. I really ought to make a video about this. It's like, look, listen up, gaming community, and in particular MMO community. We need to stop being obsessed by rewards. So, for a start, we can actually be somewhat united as a community, not just like self-cannibalize, because, oh my goodness, the Guild Wars 2 community is cannibalistic. It eats its own arm off, right? Which is obviously not good. And also, so we can actually have better games, okay? Like, we can have better, more exciting, high-energy gaming, right? Instead of what we have now, which is like it's a meme fiesta, right? You know what I mean? It's not good. Just stop liking and like what I like. I don't necessarily agree with that statement, right? I'm not saying that you should stop liking rewards. I like rewards. I like getting epic items. It's fun. But you can like something and recognize that it is kind of like the road to doom, right? Okay. I think any game where rewards are the central part of it will eventually become just like a series of chores that you're doing in order to obtain the reward. And even worse, I think you're doomed to eventually lose interest in the game because eventually the same rewards that you've been getting the entire time aren't going to do it anymore, right? And then you don't want to play the game anymore, and it's not fun, right? Like this is something that I have come to knowledge after playing a lot of memes, right? Just describe the MMORPG genre. Well, maybe we should fix that then. Maybe we should make it better.
A genre, right? That has been like dying slowly for the last 10 years. Exactly.
The current most popular MMORPG is World of Warcraft Classic, a game that was developed honestly, like it probably started like pre-millennium. Okay, like came out in 2004, right? That's the best game right now. MMORPG. That's the best we got.
The most popular. I wouldn't say the best.
That is a meme fiesta. Okay. Oh, Final Fantasy has way more players. Well, Final Fantasy is effectively like a WoW Classic reskin, right? It's a tab target raid game. More close to retail WoW reskin, really, but it is what it is, right? We haven't really come that far, have we? I think we need to go further than this. Maybe it is time for a little bit of a new approach, perhaps. I think that, and I think Guild, it always comes back to this, boys. We're coming full circle, lads. We're coming full circle here. Like, Guild Wars 2 was supposed to be that game, man. But maybe we just weren't ready for it, Maybe we weren't, we simply were not ready for the new paradigm of MMO gaming, okay? Like, I mean, who knows? Like, Guild Wars 2 came out and it kind of like surprised people. It was like weird. It's like, oh no. Like, what do we do in Guild Wars 2? They had to add Ascended gear. Then eventually they had to revert down into the story casual fiesta. Feels bad, man. But hey. It is what it is. It is what it is. Have you got anything else, Nike? Like, I mean, it's a bit quiet in Guild Wars 2 land, isn't it? Really, these days.
Yeah, I mean, been logging in, opening my daily chest, logging out. That's maybe sometimes going to the home instance. There's really, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to envision anything changing in at least until Q2, since we now have a roadmap that doesn't look so good for changing the pace anyway.
No, I think the pace is settled.
2 hours of content in the neck coming out soon to look forward to.
Yeah. And there's going to be a world boss, right? Now, that I do find that at least somewhat exciting, right? Like, there's supposed to be a juicy new world boss coming out, right? I don't know. That's kind of cool.
Do you think it'll be anywhere near as good as Triple Trouble was when it first came out?
No, because we're a lot better at the game.
Chance?
We're just way better at the game. So no.
Yeah, no.
That won't be the game's fault as such, though. It will be more like, it will be like just because the player's just better, right? And also the game is really good, right? Like, quickness is going to be all over the place. 25 might is going to be all over the place. Banners are going to, banners maybe if they're still working by then, but that's just how it goes, boys, That's just how it goes. But yeah, I don't know. This could be exciting. It could be exciting. I've been roaming around. Here's a question. I like this. Looking for a game to play while listening to podcasts. Okay, would you guys recommend Guild Wars 2 over other RPGs and MMOs right now? It sounds like there's a lot of complaints about the game. Well, Guild Wars 2, whenever I talk about Guild Wars 2, it's always very paradoxical, right? Like, I do still view this game as the best MMORPG, okay? Right? All of the problems that the community is complaining about will not be relevant for you for, like, minimum a few 1,000 hours of gameplay, right? Okay, minimum. You won't be bothered by any of it for age, especially if you go in blind. If you kind of learn a lot about the game and like get good at it quickly, then that's going to be a problem. Like, the better you are at Guild Wars 2, the less fun you'll have in the game. Okay, that's probably actually kind of fair. So just stay noob, okay, and you can enjoy Guild Wars 2 forever. So yeah, I would wholeheartedly recommend it to a new player, like, absolutely. But yeah, just don't get too good. Don't get too good at the game. Now, one thing I really want to clarify is that I'm not blaming the players for ArenaNet's design decision, or not exactly anyway. Like, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong as such. I'm just saying that one of the reasons why a lot of these MMORPGs have the same problems in them are because of the way that they're played and because of what the community wants, right? Okay, I'm not saying it's like wrong to not like rewards. I fucking love rewards, dude. Okay, epic items, nice. I want my purples, dude. I love the color purple in general, right? But it's more that the games being played this way has some like really bad consequences, right? Okay, and I think makes the games worse overall, and makes the game's communities worse as well, and to a certain extent quite toxic, right? Like, why do you think it's always like PvP players versus the PvE Care Bears and the world versus world scrubs, right? And the toxic PvPers, the toxic raiders, the toxic Fractal players, right? It's because like a lot of like the reward stuff in games almost makes it feel very zero-sum gamey, right? And it puts people against each other, right? It's like very, very, very tribalistic, right? That's not good. Like, it doesn't foster a really happy and friendly community, really, right? Like, yeah, in a game, maybe in a game like Final Fantasy it works out, but why is that? It's because like it's very focused on like exactly one game mode, right? So yeah, you can get away with it there, and that's maybe the correct approach. Maybe you just have to like really focus in instead of having MMORPGs as being like this very broad, very broad net that you cast, right?
You have to make. Do you want a wide but shallow community or a narrow but deep, loyal community? You know what I mean? Like, you can have 1 million players that play an hour a day, or you can have 100,000 players that play 10 hours a day, and it works out to be the same. And I would argue that the smaller, more loyal community is better for your game in the long term because they are more loyal, and they won't jump ship when the next flavor of the month game comes out. And they're the ones that will be the most like hardcore content creators, and the ones that'll be like pushing your game on like game websites and other Reddits. Like there's a lot to be said for people that are dedicated to the game and making the game narrower and just picking a lane and sticking to it. And I think that's one thing Final Fantasy does really well is that they're not trying to be all things to all players.
I mean, it may be that such a game is just not really that possible with these resources, right? That a lot of
like
communities
World of Warcraft would be the game that could do it if anyone could. And I mean, it's arguable that I don't know what the PvP scene in WoW retail is like today, but I don't think it's quite very good. So it's just hard to be all things to all people, and if WoW can't do it, then why would anyone else even try?
Yeah, and I don't think WoW even really tries. Well, they do have like some PvP stuff. They have the arenas. They have like, actual esports with that. But like the majority of it is really about the mythic raiding. Like very similar. I would argue very similar to Final Fantasy. Which is why I called them basically the same game, right? Because they just do really hard raids, right? Like and that is what they do. And it's you can either play it as a cow person and a panda, or you can play it as a cat girl, right? Like it's the choice is yours. It's really entirely up to you. There you go. Enjoy. It's some good stuff there. Oh yeah. Oh no, man.
Yeah, but Guild Wars 2, on the flip side, they try to have an alive PvP community. They try to have an alive raid community. They try to have an alive casual community. Like they try to have an alive World v World community. Like they try. Whether ArenaNet's successful in keeping those communities alive is a different story, but like they legit are trying to be all things to all people, and that's definitely not the direction the industry seems to be going at all.
And if you know what, when it comes to PvP in World versus World, I really think they can get away with this because ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2 still has the advantage of having some of the best systems to work for, right? Like, I think like when it comes to like a PvP MMO, what PvP MMO is there? Like I think the two that would be like the kind of the standouts would be Arcade and BDO. I would say are the two PvP MMOs. Like there's EVE Online way in the back, right? But that's different. I mean that's an entirely other kettle of fish right there. So like for an actual like PvP MMO, I think there really is almost like a bit of a gap in the market right now because BDO and Arcade Unchained, I'm sure they're very good games and they're well loved, but I think like even a lot of the players who really enjoy the game would say that they are deeply flawed, right? Okay, and have some pretty bad packages that come with that PvP focus there as well. So I think Guild Wars 2 can still really excel here because it just doesn't really have the bullshit, right, that a lot of these other games have, right? You can just go in there and fucking
pay
play,
to win,
right? Okay, that's pay to win, it's AIDS, right? It's like with this, you can just go in, you play, you can PvP, you can do Conquest, you can do World versus World. And I think that's where Guild Wars 2 can really excel in a way, because it does have a very, very good combat system.
Well, in fairness, ArenaNet tried that. That was what the game was supposed to be at launch, was a PvP game. But it turns out that the majority of the people wanted to be Care Bears instead. And that's the way it sort of worked out.
Do you think it was that, or was it because they just didn't really explain the game that well, and maybe because the original systems around PvP were a bit weird, like no real ranking system? They had that tournament system with like where you would buy tickets, right? Just a bit unusual.
Win gems. Yeah, that was really good.
But I mean, it was good, but it was weird, right?
It was very weird. Like it was not clear. It was not clear how you were unless you were the best couple teams, how you were supposed to sustain your tickets and how you were supposed to like farm them. Like I don't know, it was very weird system.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I think like if they had launched with the current AT system, it would have been a lot better, that's for sure. But I don't know, I think, and I've said this before, I think that World v World was intended to be the PvE endgame. It was supposed to be you got your exotic gear from dungeons and then you went into World v World. And that was the end game. But they didn't ever make that explicit enough to actually be the case. Like they never... They were afraid of offending people by putting up signs that said the end game lies this way. Please come. And people, like, if you don't put the sign up, people won't go. Like, they just won't.
I think a lot of the game just wasn't really fleshed out on launch very well, right? Like, there were a lot of systems missing from World vs. World and PvP. You know, it's kind of funny, actually. Like, ArenaNet agreed with me, right? They were like, dude, World vs. World is so much fun. People are just going to play it, right? But, I mean, I'm oversimplifying there. Like, I think the main problem with World vs. World was not necessarily the lack of rewards. It was... Or maybe... Well, it was definitely the signposting. Right, as you say, the signposting is massive, and they definitely should have just like really guided people through the game and what the game was. But there were a lot of things that prevented people from like staying in the game. Like World vs. World, like you would play it at cost, right? You would, because it wouldn't even pay for the food.
Yeah, you were supposed to run dungeons and then go into World v World. Like that was what they wanted people to do.
Yeah. But they really should have nudged people in that direction, right? As opposed to like letting people figure it out.
You have to. I don't know. You can say it in a way that like doesn't offend people and like tell them that they're playing wrong. Like they're afraid to tell people, hey, you're playing the game wrong. They don't want to tell people that, but there's ways to say like when people were like, what's the PvE endgame? Remember that was like the whole big rage, and they had to come out with fractals to like address like what the PvE endgame was. Right? Like, they should have just said the PvE endgame is World v World, dummies, and that's it, and never come out with fractals. Like that's what they should have said. They should have said the PvE endgame is going to World v World. Well, I don't want a PvP. Okay, have fun in your next MMO because that's the game we're making. Like that's how like, and then you'd have a smaller community. But it would be a community of all like-minded people that are into the same thing.
Very focused. It would have been a very focused community, right? And they could have maybe kept some of their esports dream alive to a certain extent, right? And yeah, this is what we were talking about with PvP, right? Like they did try and do this, but this is where I would be maybe I'm a little too optimistic. I think they still can, right? Like maybe not on like the grand scale that they perhaps could have at the start of the game with esports and like flying people out and doing LAN tournaments and all that sort of thing. But what they could do is what they could do is like have like one of the best PvP games that might actually be quite popular. Because I think if you take away some of the maybe slightly frustrating balance issues right now in PvP, like the game is actually, it does kind of stand out among the MMOs, right? It really does in terms of like how good the combat system interacts with a PvP environment, and to a certain extent like World versus World as well. Like Realm versus Realm, the combat system is obviously a little bit less relevant than in PvP, but I still think it really does shine, But they also Nike knows about Guild Wars 1. Easy GVG lad from the Guild Wars 1 scene, boys.
Yeah, and I've said this before too, but like my story in Guild Wars 2 was that I came from when Guild Wars 2 was coming, I was a hardcore Guild Wars 1 GVGer, and when they were hyping Guild Wars 2, like doing all the I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't read a single article about Guild Wars 2. I didn't follow them on any social media. I didn't follow the Reddit. I wanted to go into the game blind, and my first experience with Guild Wars 2 was the first beta weekend. And my intention in the game was to be a PvPer. That was me and my friends from Guild Wars 1, we were going to be a PvP guild. And it just rapidly came off the rails when the PvP system wasn't really conducive to that. So, and that was the problem. Like you say, the tournaments like made it so that unless you were at like the LAN level, like the pro level, like there was just no way to like create a culture around it.
But if they had automated tournaments like they did now, and I imagine actually particularly as a Guild Wars 1 player, this must have really perplexed you, because they had this in Guild Wars 1, right? They had their monthly automated tournaments existed in Guild Wars 1.
Yeah, and they had observer mode, and they had a fully fleshed out system, and it was pretty popular. I don't think there were any people in Guild Wars 1 who were like, yeah, the monthlies suck. We hate monthly ATs. Like, no, everyone loved it. Like, that was like, you shit talked for an entire month. Like, you really, there were whole websites, like forums dedicated to shit talking people, and it was really good. Like, I don't know, the whole system was like very well thought out.
This is where the snake is. This is where the snake is completely right? Like, you need the energy, right? You need that drama. You need the a bit of drama to keep the game alive to a certain extent, like in every game mode. And look, every game mode that's kind of survived, World vs. World has been fueled on chromosomes for like the past few years, right? They're running on fumes, but they're still going. And PvP, they've still got a lot of spice there. Like whoever wins the monthly, like there's some good memes there a lot of the time. And even raids. I mean, look at all the drama. People like hiding records, hiding strats, like secret
hiding girlfriends.
Of course, right? The ERP is the raid tournament's namesake was certainly. Very important. Writs, of course, yeah. Like using writs in benchmarks.
Night sigils.
Yeah, night sigils. Oh, man, there's been some good stuff in the raid scene, dude. Like, it's a shame we don't have that anymore. Like, I want to see someone get exposed on Reddit for using a night sigil in a benchmark again. That is yeah.
Pretty sure Fennec is gone, so he won't be able to expose anybody.
Oh no, unfortunate. That is not so good. Not so good at all. Ah, man. What an interesting meme. What an interesting direction TeaTime was taking.
So let's think about like the way history played out. Like the whole like benchmark writ thing that Nightmare got exposed on. Had that not happened, he would have still been an SC, and SC would have won.
Oh shit.
The ERP.
Dude, that's big.
Yeah.
That's actually big. Yeah.
So that changed the course of PvE history.
It did.
In a very big way.
That's actually real, though. That's actually 100% true. Because think about it, right? Like, surely, like his anger, like his desire for revenge, was fueled by the by his expulsion from SC.
He's a very single-minded, like task-oriented guy. So he would have like really carried SC pretty hard, like for practice. Like that's like his thing, is like practice.
High energy. Well, yeah. I mean, look, I heard he was like cracking the whip. Like I was talking to Rocker about this, and like, holy shit, dude! Like it's, they got a little bit intense, right? Sometimes in a lot of these situations while practicing with LN, But that's good, right? You gotta work the team hard, right? You gotta go for the energy, and it paid off in the end, right? Like with the grand final to end all finals,
Whoa! Legendary Lyn. Oh, that's
What?
some heat.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Okay, wow. I didn't see that one coming. Well, that's not very nice, is it? Now, okay. Here's the thing. Actually, okay. Like, here's a bit of a weird question. Do you think that it will really be possible to ever run another ERP, or is it like actually like is it done? Is it actually done so now?
I mean, if imagine like you ran a PvP tournament and you only invited groups of people that quit the game like 5 years ago, like Car Crash and like all and like these PvP guilds from Guild Wars 2 past. Like yeah, like you might get like some people to come out of retirement, but the level of play would be really unacceptable. So it wouldn't be worth doing, I don't think.
We can do the amateur raiding party, dude. Okay, we can do that.
Well, everyone would be amateur at this point.
Dude, like, you know, ARP amateur raiding party was kind of fun. You know, I would consider doing that again, but I'd have to really change the format. I didn't really. The format last time didn't really work out that well. I'd have to figure out some good rules to make sure that you don't have fucking Diaxon coming and like smiting everyone, right? Okay, that was yeah. It's really hard to tell like who's an amateur, right? Like who is who can play in the tournament, because like yeah, meta were just kind of beating up on people, right? It's not their fault, right? I'm not not throwing shade at the action here, right? Is that, you know, but hey, look.
I mean, there was like sort of a criteria, like it was like to do with like not having done a record or something like that, and like I mean, that's I guess true for them. Like they fit that criteria, but.
The criteria was basically assuming that I was going to do quite a lot more of them. It was like, the first one will be a little bit scuffed, but it will get better as it goes on. But then after I realized that no, it won't. Because if you've played in basically the criteria was that if you played in the ERP, you can't play in the ARP, right? And dude, I was talking to Lynn about this. Fucking Lynn. Lynn's a cheeky boy, right? He was saying that they were going to free farm the ARP, right? Okay, and they were gonna go big, but they would turn down the invitation to the ERP because they just would want to keep farming the ARP like every single time, right? It's like, well, oh no, that's
nothing like sandbagging.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stay in gold forever.
Just to beat up on people. Noobs. Yeah, beat up on those noobs, dude. Yeah,
it'll get me some good footage for my 1v2 montages.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good. Well, you know, like, well, you know, dude, have you seen? There's this actually really interesting trend, actually. You know, the whole like being good at the game means you have less fun. Like a lot of the PvP streamers have actually taken this up, right? They've stopped taking ranked seriously completely, right? Like Angels,
and they run meme builds.
Yeah. Ajax and Angels just like play like hard meme builds the entire time now, right?
I noticed that Angels is playing a lot of Scrapper lately. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if that's part of the meme or if that was like an honest attempt to make Scrapper good.
Oh, it's half. It's half and half, right? Like he does his, he tries.
Hasn't Valen been doing this for like years now of playing like the worst builds imaginable?
Dude, like I have seen Valen play some weird shit. Okay, I'm pretty sure if someone in chat says play this, he just plays it, right? Okay, he's just done this for ages, man. This is what Valen does. This is what he's about, right? He doesn't give a fuck, you know. That's what he does. That's the high energy, right? Roy does it too, actually, right? Like Roy does that as well. You know, he will if you want to play a build, like, he'll do it, right? Even if it's like completely horrible, right? Like he'll still play it. Yeah, Valen was playing like 4 Signet Ellie yesterday, so yeah, that's good.
Well, that's the good thing about ATs being the end game for PvP is that it makes ranked less important. And you can like have more fun, like playing experimental shit because it doesn't matter. Because what matters is winning the monthly. Like that's what you get judged on. Who cares if you like lose some games in ranked on a meme build, as long as you can like nut up for the monthly.
Oh, for sure. You know, it's like, you know, rank 1 is great and all. You can, you know, go, oh yeah, go to PvP or go to the arena, right? That's great, right? But at the end of the day, 5v5 is what it comes down to. It comes down to monthly AT, and you know, the big energy, the big wins there, right? That's where the true glory in PvP certainly is, right? It's really good to have that. Obviously, ranked being restored to its former greatness would be be a very beneficial thing to the game, I think. But I know I would definitely look forward towards the balance patch for that, which I guess is something we could talk about now, actually. So that we know that there's going to be a massive balance patch coming towards the game, right?
With the idea that it's going to power down PvP in World v World.
Yes,
is the thought process there.
Yeah. That is, and I think it's a very good thought process. I think it's probably one of the biggest thing holding PvP and World versus World back from being really, really good game modes is the fact that a lot of mechanic creep has happened to a lot of elite specializations in classes, right? Like, compared the traits and abilities of base classes to like Path of Fire specs, doesn't work out very well a lot of the time, right? It ain't looking so good.
Yeah, I would be worried about that that Guardian shout that gives 10-man stability. I would imagine that stuff like that is like 10-man shouts are not long for the world, put it that way. But I don't know if they can, like, I mean, that wouldn't affect PvE very much. So maybe they'll just do it and not split the skill, because I don't know if they can split that kind of functionality. Or if, I know they can tweak numbers for skill splits, but maybe like amount of targets that it affects is not something that they can split.
They can split the targets, because they did this with Big Shade in World vs. World. In World vs. World, Big Shade doesn't increase the target cap to, it's only 5 now. It doesn't go up to 10. So yeah, I think they can do that. Like I don't know where I heard this, actually. I don't know where I heard this, but I think the only thing they can't split is like the radius of a skill, right? So the like lava font, they can't make it bigger in World versus World, for example, right? But everything else, I think they can split between game modes. I think. So a lot of the changes are going to be number tweaks, right? So it's not going to be, you know, they're going to add Harbinger Shroud, or they're going to add a new trait here, a new trait there. They're going to completely change the functionality of X trait or Y trait, right? There is some of that, as I understand it, but a lot of it is going to come down to simply reducing numbers, right? Reducing healing, boon application, all that sort of thing as well. And obviously, I would love it if we had new traits and new builds. I hope we do, particularly to some stuff in PvE. I think if you want raids to be interesting on one raid a year, you gotta switch it up, okay? Like, even the hardcore players, they're getting bored, dude. They've been like going with like 8 Guardians for the last like half a year, right? Like, come on, man. Like, people are getting bored of that, right? They want to play something else. So yeah, I hope they change up PvE here as well. But I know I know that some of this tea time has been a little bit on the depressing side with regards to the PvE element, but that's because the reality is a little bit depressing. But on the PvP and World versus World front, I don't know, dude. I think that PvP and World versus World could be the place to look at, actually, for Guild Wars 2 moving forwards, right? It may not see like massive amounts of development, but here's the thing, okay, about PvP and World versus World. They don't need a lot of development. PvE, you've got to add a new raid, you've got to add a new fractal, you've got to develop new content, you've got to add CMs. Like, oh my goodness, that sounds quite difficult, right? But to develop PvP, you've just got to change a few numbers in a database. Well, I hope they do. But who knows? And we'll eventually add Swiss to the game, right? Like, it's a lot easier to develop PvP and World versus World, right? Because you don't actually have to add content, right? In the context that we're talking about, you don't really need any more PvP maps. We've got 7 now.
Yeah, you don't need to make a new Borderlands that everyone hates immediately. You don't need to do that.
This might be a very risky thing to say, right? And look, guys, if they do this and it's horrible, I apologize to the World versus World community. I would love a new World versus World map, actually. Like a jungle map, maybe, or something like that. You know, that could be kind of cool. Bit of a jungle map. Or...
Why not? Is Edge of the Mist, like, could they not just put that in rotation, like, as a Borderland? Would that be, like, too big, or...
It has different mechanics to it, and that might upset me. It's very much designed around being an extra map, like funnels supplies to the main Borderlands with these reactors and stuff like that. It's a little bit odd. There's a lot of different mechanics there as well, but maybe that's a good thing. It's a bit like Desert Borderland. Desert Borderland also has different mechanics with the shrines and stuff like that. I think they would need to balance Edge of the Mist a little bit. It can be a bit funky. with some of the places where you can fall off it. And some of the
yeah, let's
and
just
stuff
scrap
like that.
this idea because it's way more work than they're ever going to put into it, and
Yeah.
the reward, the payoff.
I think
Like,
it could be good.
they sink all these hours into fixing it, and like the payoff is a map that people still aren't happy with. Like, it's probably just not worth doing.
It will be difficult, but I think it could be made to be good, right? I think they could do it. I really like the map, actually. I really like Edge of the Mist. I think it's a very
I liked it when
map.
it was new. That was good.
Yeah. So yeah, I know I do actually like the map, and you know, Desert has some problems, but I think a lot of this might be a little bit of a hot take, lads. Okay, I think Desert Borderlands problems a lot of them would be fixed if they just kind of if they just opened the map up a little bit and then just like made attacking things easier, right? Like a lot of the problems with Desert Borderland is that the lords will like fuck you up, dude. Like attacking structures there and actually taking stuff over is really annoying, like considerably more annoying than Alpine. I think a lot of the issues with regular World versus World really shine through in Desert, because sieging is just annoying, right? Okay, look, I love the fantasy. You're there in your trebuchet taking down the walls, okay? But oh my goodness, in practice, is it unfun, right? It's it's not an enjoyable experience, right? When you're dealing with arrow cuts. I know they want to give you that simulator, right, where you're on the treb for about 5 hours in a siege, right? But let's loosen this up a little bit and get some more tempo.
Insane in World v World, like defending, like you can really defend like way too good. Like, I mean, obviously you need to have some advantage, but yeah, the current advantage, like. Once you have it up to tier 3, your keep up to tier 3 and got arrow carts everywhere, like unless like you fall asleep, like that's not going anywhere.
Yeah. It was a big problem, and it's not. This is why it's so hard for ArenaNet to do anything here, in my opinion. I don't think that sieging is necessarily imbalanced. It's just like much easier to defend, right? I think on paper, if both teams played perfectly, I think attackers would always win, actually. Which is why they added stuff like Emergency Waypoint and the wall invulns, because I'm pretty sure that in perfect land, attackers always win in World versus World. However,
well, in
it's
theory,
way harder.
The attacker probably outnumbers the defender. Otherwise, the defender could just wipe them in the open field, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the attacker will always be able to control the open field, which means controlling the supply. Meaning, eventually, even if both sides play perfect, the attacker will starve the defender of supply and win by attrition at the very worst. But the problem is that's like a glacial pace. Like, to actually do that is like insanely slow.
Yeah, you have to grind them down, right? It is a. I mean, I don't mind that kind of gameplay. Like the idea that you would have to like really siege down this keep, right, and do it over like hours and hours.
It sounds cool when you describe it, like
yeah.
Like especially being the commander, like having to like think about it and go, okay, we need. Like that's really like very like engaging gameplay, like thinking about it, but actually doing it is yeah, it's a different story. Like you should be able to experience the whole siege thing in like 30 minutes instead of like 3 hours.
I mean, I don't think it necessarily has to. It might not have to be exactly fast. I think it should be a little bit quicker, but. I think they should just make it a lot more meaningful as well. Because, like, why would you ever put yourself through doing the siege, right? I'm not talking about rewards here. I just mean, like, oh, you know, having all the keeps should mean something for your server, right? Like, your server should benefit from having all those keeps. You should really want to do it, right? Because right now, if I'm playing World vs. World, I'm leading, and if I see a tier 3 structure, guys, I'm not going anywhere near that. Right? I don't want to like I don't want to like make myself uninstall the game. Like I'm not going anywhere near it. Like, oh, what do you get for it? A champ bag and like it goes red instead of blue now. It's like, no. Okay, we're not doing that, guys. So sieging needs to be completely reworked for World versus World. But the balance is definitely going to be really exciting, right? Like I'm hoping that it will caused me to play, kind of almost get back into Guild Wars 2. Because look, I know it is a little bit rich for me to say that I'm not really into the game right now, because I kind of stream the game every day, right, a lot of the time. But I don't really feel that connected with the game right now. Okay, right?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of obvious to people watching. Like it's like the stream is like bullshitting for 5 hours, and like whatever the gameplay is just like a bonus.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's that's what it is, right? You know, I just kind of like run around in circles and talk. I really want to be engaged with the game again, and I don't think PvE will ever be able to do that, right? Like I hope that PvP and World versus World will be able to do that, because like they are ultimately like my two favorite game modes, right? Within Guild Wars 2. Like it's not raids. Like raids are great and all, right? But I would definitely prefer to be on a PvP team. And on a PvP team and playing in a World versus World guild as well. Like that would be the ideal content that would kind of have the most longevity. Because I think that PvE, like ultimately you kind of run out of stuff, right? Oh my God, no! Oh, guys, no!
Oh,
chat, stop, please! I know you're smarter than this, okay? Teapot earlier. Stop being dramatised. Teapot now. I won't attack the structure because no rewards. Isn't the point in playing for fun rewarding enough? Is it not for PvE and not for Worlds? No! I said it's not fun! Okay, CG is not fucking fun, dude. It's shit. Okay? No one likes it. Okay? Oh my God. It's like the most unenjoyable thing in the entire game, right? Okay? Come on, guys. What are you doing, lads? What are you doing? Of course you don't necessarily need rewards. Like, dude, I played World vs. World for like an entire year before the pip rework. You got fuck all, okay, in the game mode, right? Okay, then they added pips, and I was like, oh, okay, nice, pips, right? But look, the problem with sieging is it is catastrophically anti-fun, okay, right? It's AIDS, right? You get hit by arrow carts, your team like runs around in circles, like flailing your little limbs all over the place, right? Okay, and you die.
It doesn't need to be rewarding from a gold standpoint, as long as it's rewarding for your team's victory. Like let's say they changed World v World, and I'm not suggesting they actually do this, but let's say it was changed so that capturing and holding Stone Mist was the point of World v World. Like the only point, like that's how your team won, was holding Stone Mist. And everything you did in the Borderlands, sort of like Edge of the Mist, like helped you capture and hold Stone Mist. It would feel great to take someone else's keep, because you knew that now your team was going to have a significantly better chance of holding Stone Mist. You know what I mean? Like, then you would feel like you did something to win the game by taking the keep. And that's and that way that you don't need a gold reward for that if you're contributing towards winning.
Absolutely, right? It's not about reward. It's about like having something meaningful to do in the game, right? Okay, right? I'm not talking about a gold reward. It's like an intrinsic reward, okay? Like, I'm not gonna lie, some of the best fights I've ever had in World vs. World have actually been within structures, okay? But the trouble is that to get to the point where you can actually start having that really interesting gameplay where you're trying to hold out, like the enemy is swarming around you, they're going crazy, you're trying to beat down the Lord, right? To get to that point is incredibly difficult, okay? And it's just not an enjoyable experience when like they just like bash you with ACs. It's going to take hours and hours and hours. People are going to get bored and start leaving because you're just hammering on a wall. Like the defenders, like they hit you with a disabler, they're trebbing you through the wall so they kill your rams, which is so annoying, right? It's like, oh my God, what are we dealing with here, right? There's like a lot of stuff that is very frustrating to deal with, right? It's not that the overall process doesn't have some fun elements. It does, okay? It absolutely does. Because like when you actually get there and you capture it, it's like, yes, we are victorious. We flipped the tier 3 keep. Feels good, man, right? But it ain't worth it, not in my opinion anyway. And honestly, most of the World vs. World community agrees with me, because you know what? When something is tier 3 on a French server, guys, it's tier 3 until the night crew come out, boys, okay? Simple as that, right? Because if you see that, if you see Jade C, you know that they've got like 50 arrow carts in there and like 10 French warriors who will never give up. And they'll BM you as well. They'll like throw their feces on you too, right? Like, it's gonna be horrible, right? Well, maybe not anymore, but but still, it's a tough meme. That's what happens, okay? Unless you do have like a massive golem rush, you know, maybe you have like a massive golem rush, but that's how it is, dude. Okay, got to get the rest of them. There's so look, I haven't played. Oh God, look, lads, I haven't played World vs. World for a right, guys. Okay, right? That's just. Oh, I don't know what servers are relevant right now. Okay, I haven't got a clue. What's going on, because they, you know, I don't really enjoy it. But look, that's the point, guys. Okay, you know, World vs. World, it should be good. It should be, okay, the gaming, okay, that fuels Guild Wars 2 in 2020. I certainly hope it will be. Okay, if it isn't, I'll be pretty sad. Okay, because you know, it could be good energy. It could be some seriously good energy. And hey, I think if you can actually find yourself enjoying PvP in World vs. World, guys, you will find it a lot more fulfilling than playing PvE. Ultimately, playing PvE in Guild Wars 2 is going to be boring. You will get bored because the content release schedule is very, very slow. And honestly, I would even go as far to say, actually, that any MMO that's PvE will eventually become boring unless it's like Path of Exile or something like that, where they keep resetting it, refreshing it, right? Because even in a game like WoW or Final Fantasy, you'll beat it, and then you've got to wait, right? And then you don't have anything to do for X months, right? And look, I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with that, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But if you want to play a game every day, you want to really go hard on it, you want to commit to it and bring the energy, right? Then you have to, you're gonna have to play something with, you know, with a PvP World vs. World like dynamic element, because otherwise it is static and you will get bored and you will run out of stuff to do. And that is why, just give it a try, guys. I'm just people like PvP, Resident Sleeper, World vs. World Resident Sleeper. I would encourage you to try it, because if you're really attached to Guild Wars 2, I would have a go. Like at least World vs. World. When I go back to World vs. World, get in the energy. Get the fucking energy going, boys. Okay? Maybe you'll like it. If you don't, then, well, you know, there's a lot of PvE MMOs out there, right? Easy game. That's what you want to go for. Simple as that. Yeah. I
mean, we could talk about the roadmap more, Valen, but I mean, it's just the road. What? Oh no. Right. Okay. All right. I'll say something I thought about the roadmap.
Let's go.
Since we'll dredge this back up.
Okay.
ArenaNet's attempt at a roadmap was basically the equivalent of like your boomer uncle trying to share a meme on Facebook. Like, it was like, how do we do this? I don't know, but I'm gonna try anyway, and then not do it very well. Like, that's like exactly what it was. Like, it's exactly what it was. Like, it's just like they're just like just trying stuff out. They don't know how it works. It's like it's the way boomers use the internet. Like, ArenaNet's like a boomer MMO company. Like that's how they're executing.
It's true.
Like,
they don't know about Twitch, right? They still go to reviews. Have,
like, trouble opening PDFs. Like,
whoa, oh no, careful. Remember, I went to Brazil, dude. Holy shit, especially with the start of this.
I mean, they're mostly artists, so it's fair to say. But...
Oh no. Okay. I see.
Is it ageist to call them the boomer MMO company? I don't know. Is that an ageist issue?
I mean, I'm not sure about this one, dude. I'm not sure about all this, but you know, there's been some pretty hot fire in this tea time, guys. You know, there really has. You know, a little bit of high energy stuff going about the place, but no, I think we're kind of closing on the time to wrap things up here a little bit here on this tea time. Tea time is back, by the way. I was like, tea time in general will be just like whenever, you know, whenever we've got something to talk about, like especially around this time, like a lot of people are off like doing festive things, right? So not a lot of people, honestly, not a lot of people really want to talk about the game that much anymore, is what I found, right? Like I sometimes like ask someone for tea time, and then they go like, nah, I don't want to. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I really debated like whether or not like I had anything to say, and like so, but but I decided I did. I had some nuggets of wisdom to share with.
Oh no,
with,
definitely
with people today.
No, there's always high value. There is always very, very big value about the place. A bit of stuff, but do you have any kind of closing thoughts on like the future of Guild Wars 2 in 2020? Do you see yourself like playing a lot of Guild Wars 2? Like maybe trying out World versus World, coming World versus World with the glorious Salt Brotherhood? Yeah.
Maybe. If it depends. Like for me, like playing World v World comes down to whether or not the build that I'm playing is fun. You know, like if the build I'm playing is fun to play, then it's fun. But if it's not fun, then like if you're just playing a build because like that's what your Zerg needs, like oh we need a Firebrand, but you don't enjoy playing Firebrand, like it's just not gonna be fun at all. Like the thing I liked, like the meta was like when like Hammer Warrior was really good, and like you would engage the other Zerg like with like 8 Hammer Warriors, like doing their like burst leap thing into the other Zerg, like for like mass stun. Like that was fun. Like I enjoyed that, but like I don't know, I wouldn't want to play like a build that wasn't fun. So we'll see how the balance goes. Maybe I will World v World if it's good.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. You know, I definitely get that. You want it, you know, you'll only, you know, if you particularly like the game, and that's a good way to approach it. But what I was trying to get at, and your opinion on, because like, you know, I don't want to just give my exact take on this. Like, do you really see if you were a raid player in Guild Wars 2, what would you do? Okay.
Oh, I mean, what I did do was stop raiding. So that's the answer to that. I would, if I wanted to stick with Guild Wars 2, I would find something else to do. But it's hard. Like, look at Goku. I think he is the example of what you had to do to stay with Guild Wars 2.
Because he's very into PvP now, right? Like, he's really gone crazy. Big PvP.
He transitioned.
Action. Yeah.
And so his pronouns are different. His gameplay is different. He's a new Goku.
Exactly. Like
he's Goku FR instead of Goku SC.
So you've got to go. You've got to go into a different. You've got to at least PvX, right? Otherwise, you just won't be able to survive. I think that is kind of the. You know what, guys? That's the moral of this tea time. Okay, right? If you want to keep playing Guild Wars 2 and you're a raider, you've got to diversify that portfolio, right? Like, you've got to invest into like a wide range of game modes. Otherwise, you're going to get mad and you're going to end up posting on Reddit and being really, really happy. Bring up Mystic Build Saturdays, pay me, okay? And then we can talk, dude, okay? It's a lot of work, okay? If you want it, fucking money where your mouth is, dude. Let's fucking go. All right. I think that will about do it. Don't uninvest, guys. Guild Wars 2 is still a pretty good game, okay? It's still pretty juicy. We've got the community. We've got the energy, okay? But yeah, let's get the hell out of here. Nike, what are you up to these days? Tell us about your Path of Exile Zwift combo streams.
Oh, man, so fun. I've never done it I've never done a combo. That would be impressive. But, yeah, it had been... It's now winter, so the Zwifting is picking back up, and so there's a lot of that. And then PoE, the new league, is amazing. I highly recommend people giving it a shot because they've really like refreshed the game in a way that's like really, really good, and they introduced all new endgame bosses and et cetera, et cetera. Really good. Yeah, had a stream last night where killed the new endgame Omega boss on the hardest setting without dying once. So that was really fun.
Dude.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty big value. And then
ridiculously good loot.
Oh yeah? So, yeah, the big loot, the fat loot.
Fat loot.
So be sure to check out that, guys. Links in the chat and in the description as well. So it's me as well, okay? Thanks for watching, guys. Really hope you enjoyed the tea time. I will try and run tea times whenever there's something to talk about. If I want to talk about something else, we might talk about other games as well. For example, like in the new year, I might have some kind of like discussion tea times. Rocker, oh, dude, this one is going to be spicy, dude. Like, I might try and get this sorted out. Rocker wants to have the accessibility debate, okay, on stream with someone he argued with on Twitter. Okay? All right? Yeah? That's big. Yeah. Is a new bit watching Quit Guild Wars 2 every season. I haven't ever quit Guild Wars 2, so, well, that will have to happen later. But, yeah, that could be a very, very spicy debate, guys. Like, probably it will be in the new year, obviously, at this point. It was a little bit late in 2019, but, yeah, that'll be happening. And, of course, I might add just some other stuff, like talking about game design, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, Guild Wars 2 whenever that happens. Who knows? Maybe New World when that game comes out. I have no idea. But either way, stay tuned for more Tea Times, guys. It probably won't be every week because, honestly, I don't have that much to say about Guild Wars 2 every week. I don't know what to tell you, right? That's just how it is. But yeah, you guys have a wonderful evening. Thanks for watching. Follow the stream. Subscribe to the stream, okay? Give me that cash right now, okay? Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. Watch all the videos, blah, blah, blah. Say hi to the next stream, Guild MM, coming through right now, guys. He's playing World vs. World. I thought that was appropriate. Let's get in there for some World vs. World action, guys. Okay? But yeah. Thanks for watching. Follow social media. The bot's posting it again. The link's below. Also, okay, tournament coming soon. I'm doing a PP tournament next year as well, guys. Stay tuned for that, okay? Announcement probably soon-ish. Sorta, kinda. But yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Good evening. See you later.